Okay, our aim today is how do we subtract polynomials? So just like when we added polynomials, we'll have two strategies. So our first strategy, strategy number one, will be very similar to our first strategy for addition. So our first strategy is to distribute a negative one, and then once that's done, combine our like terms. Okay, so let's try with this problem right here. 5x squared plus 7x plus 6, and I'm subtracting off the polynomial 3x squared minus 3x plus 3. So the first thing we're going to want to do is put in our negative 1. So I'm going to rewrite my two expressions, and I want to distribute this negative 1 here. So this negative 1 is going to be distributed to my entire second expression. So what I end up with is 5x squared plus 7x plus 6. A negative 1 times 3x squared gives me negative 3x squared. Negative 1 times a negative 3x gives me a positive 3x. I flip my sign. And a negative 1 times a positive 3 gives me a negative 3. Now, once I've distributed, I'm going to try to put my like terms together. So this x squared and the x squared are going to go together. So I'm going to get 5x squared minus 3x squared. I'll put my x's together. So I have 7x plus 3x, and then 6 and minus 3. So remember when you're moving your terms around, that the sign in front of your term is the one that you're going to want to keep with it. So I'll combine my like terms now. And 5x squared minus 3x squared is 2x squared. 7x plus 3x gives me 10x. And 6 minus 3 gives me 3. So these are all positive numbers, so all I have to do is add them all together. And this is my final solution. Let's try with our second example, our second strategy. So strategy number 2, just like with our addition, is going to be to line up our expressions. Cool, so the same polynomial expressions. I'm rewriting this again so that it matches your packet. All right, so I want to line up these two expressions so the like terms are on top of each other. So if I write my first expression, I want to make sure that when I write my second expression, the x squared is on top of the x squared, my x is on top of my x, and my expression without, or my term without x is on top of the other one. And then I'm going to put this in a different color so that I can contrast a little bit. I'm subtracting these two expressions, right? So this is the term. This term is the one that I'm going to want to refer to, the sign. All right, so 5x squared minus 3x squared gives me 2x squared. 7x minus a negative 3x. So I have 7 minus negative 3. And that I have gives me a positive 4x. And then 6 minus positive 3 gives me a positive 3. But I noticed that, what did I do wrong here? I forgot to add correctly. So if I go back, this one, 7 minus a negative 3 should actually give me a positive 10. And that will be my final answer. So let's try it with an example question. So I want to subtract negative 5x squared plus 6x minus 4 from negative 3x squared minus 7x plus 9. So if I want to subtract the first one from the second one, that means my second expression needs to go on top. So I'll have negative 3x squared minus 7x plus 9 on the top. And then what I'm subtracting from that is minus 5x squared plus 6x minus 4. And I'm lining them up. So negative 3x squared minus a negative 5 gives me, I'm getting more positive, so I have 2x squared, positive 2x squared. Negative 7 minus 6 is negative 13. And then 9 minus negative 4 gives me positive 13. So that should be my final answer. Let's try it with the other strategy. Let's distribute our negative 1. So negative 3x squared minus 7x plus 9. That's my first expression. Minus 1 times negative 5x squared plus 6x minus 4. So I'll distribute this negative 1, and I'll end up with negative 3x squared minus 7x plus 9. Negative 1 times a negative 5 gives me positive 5x squared. Negative 1 times a positive 6 gives me minus 6x. And negative 1 times a negative 4 gives me plus 4. Like before, I'm going to put my like terms together to make combining them a little bit easier. My x goes with my x, and my non-x goes with my non-x. So let's combine all of these. Negative 3 plus 5 is positive 2. Negative 7 minus 6 is a negative 13. And 9 plus 4 is positive 13. So this is a positive 2x, so I'm rewriting that. This is a negative 13, so I have to subtract 13x. And there's a positive 13, so I'll add it on to the end. And that's my final expression.